Okay, our plan is to try to see if we can work on and manipulate a spreadsheet that's exported directly from Google Classroom that's got our grades in it. So the way to access that, the most obvious way would be to click on Marks. And if you click on that, you can see all of the submitted assignments, including all the marks, and instantly it's really handy because you can see all the missing assignments. This is a great way to have a quick check to see how students are progressing, and does potentially save the need to have to refer back to a handwritten table of marks. The only issue here, the one problem, is that I have not found an easy way to export all of these grades. It's kind of interesting that what you actually have to do is go into an individual assignment, and from within any individual assignment, it's very easy then to click on the button over here, the settings button, and then to download the marks or copy all the marks to a Google Sheet. So once again, I'm just going to go back to the course. So if I click on classwork and I go down to screenshots test and click on view assignment, this jumps to student work, and we can actually see the grades down the left-hand side here, which is one method for viewing the grades. And of course, we can also click on and reassess or assess, mark the first time, each of the individual assignments. This allows us to scroll through, to navigate through, to view each student's work, and to give them grades. I'm going to close this down though, and we're going to go to the previous window. And in that previous window, we can see instructions or student work. So once again, from the course, I've clicked on classwork, I found the assignment, screenshots test, I've clicked view assignment, and from here I can either see the instructions or I can see the student work. So from within student work, this is where we then export all the grades. Again, it doesn't seem intuitive to me. I would have expected that you'd click on marks once you go to your course, and from here we're able to export. If anyone figures out how to do that, please let me know. I'm sure this is a feature they're looking at adding. If you click over here, that takes you to your global course settings. It doesn't take you to your settings for exporting that class's marks. While we're in here though, there are some things that we can look at. First of all, mark calculation. Overall mark calculation, do you want to have an overall mark? And so we can either go total points or weighted by category, which can be very handy, so you can actually set weightings in here. Let's just go to total points for now. And you can also, you can select you can click on here to learn more about the grading systems. Do you want to show the marks, overall marks, to students? They can still see their individual marks, but that's up to you. You can add mark categories here as well too, and we'll click Save. Okay, so that didn't change anything here. That would just change how the students view. Once again, we need to actually go into an individual assignment, so I'll just click on, let's see, where's the one I was working on? Screenshot test, there it is. I'll click on that one. And this would work the same in any assignment. You go to the settings button and you click copy all marks to Google Sheets. So once that loads, you can see that we've got a spreadsheet with names here, which are blotted out for obvious reasons. So that's the first couple of columns. Along the top row, we can see a description of the assignments. And what's nice about this is if I had a bunch of students, so let's just add some names in here. And if I just drag this down, so these are a bunch more names. You can see it automatically increases the number. That may be something new for some of you. And if we had a bunch of more assignments here, I'll just put a number in here and scroll across, and we'll drag that across. So we've got a bunch more assignments, too many to fit in one screen. So what happens is you can see it's frozen these columns so that the names are still visible even when I scroll further along. And it's done the same if I scroll down so I can see, this is a very large class, so I can see that bottom name. I can still see that first row so I know which assignment we're dealing with. That's a very handy thing. And I'll just quickly show you how to set that up if you ever want to set that up on your own. So here's a new sheet, and I'm going to put assignment 1 along the top and just drag that across. So we got a bunch of assignments, and I'm going to do the same thing with names down the first column. And all I'm doing is clicking in this bottom corner and dragging down. So there we go. We got a bunch of names. And if I want to freeze these, all you do is you go View, Freeze, View, Freeze. One row, you can do 2 rows or up to the current row if you want. And I'll select 2 rows. No, I'll do 1 row. And I'm also going to do the same thing with the first column. Freeze, 1 column. So now, as I scroll along here, okay, I don't have any values in there, but if I did have values, we would still be able to see the names. And if I scroll down, which I'm doing, you can see even when we get to the very bottom here, I can still see the specific assignment along that top row. So that's a very handy feature in a spreadsheet. I'm going to go back to the initial sheet. This is the one that was exported from Google Classroom. And what we can do inside of here is, well, first of all, we can look at individual marks. And it's a quick and easy way to do that. You can see right away if something's missing. And it could be that we haven't marked it. So one possibility is to go back and ensure that it has been graded. Another thing that I like to do is verify these grades. So we can see the overall mark here, which is handy. But I want to make sure that this is calculated correctly. And you can see that it seems to ignore missing assignments. So it takes that mark based on what's been submitted and graded. And that's it. So I'm going to do my own calculation. And obviously you would fill these in. But my own calculation, my verification calculation, is going to look something like this. I'm just going to call this verify. And what I would do is get a total of that top row, because that would tell us a total number of marks. I'm sorry, this row right here. This is our average. We don't need to tally that up. So I'll click in this cell, and then I'll click the sum button. And click on sum, and it automatically creates or puts in the command, and all we need to do then is drag along the cells that we would like to sum. And it does that, and it gives us the total marks, which is 86. Now I want to sum up everything down here, and I can just drag that down all the way to the bottom. I don't need this one. I'm going to delete it. I'm just hitting backspace to delete that, and I'll delete that one as well too, because I don't need to know the sum of all the class averages. But now what I can see is the actual number of marks that each student has achieved. That doesn't give me a percent though, because it's out of 86, so we got to do a little bit of math here. And so I'm just going to put percent up on the top here, and I'll click in the cell associated with the first name. And now for math, I'm going to click the equals button. So it means a function is about to follow. I click on this cell, which is the total, and we're going to divide it by the total number of points. And so I just click in that cell, and you can see it equals M6. M6 is this cell divided by M3, and I'll hit enter. Now there's going to be a problem here, and we'll get to that in a second. As I drag down, you can see things start to go a little bit crazy. What we also have to do in this cell, and I'll go up to the top to do that, is this is going to divide M6 by M3. Because I've simply dragged down, now it wants to divide M7 by M4 and M8 by M5. But that's not what we want. We want to divide each of these by M3. So what we do to freeze that M3 is we put a $ in front of the 3 and hit enter. And now, instead of, well, let's look at the bottom one here. This is M15 divided by M12. If I click back up here, and we've got $3, when I drag this down, it will divide all of them by $3. And that gives us a more accurate percentage. I'm just going to highlight these, and I'm going to click on the percent button, which is right here. And that's the actual calculated percent. You can see that deviates fairly significantly from the grades that are over here, because once again, these are tabulated from submitted assignments. So let's say I've gone back and I've corrected these grades now, and I'll just make these up as I go along. 15. I'm going to do that for all of them. Okay, so all those grades have been completed now. And so these percents are going to be more accurate than these. This is, once again, not going to really help us in terms of entering a final report card grade. This is getting closer to it. If you want to, let's say you have another assignment, you can also right-click on the top and insert a row to the left. We can insert one to the right as well too, but let's put one on the left. And let's say that I have a written test. We give it a mark out of something. So let's say it's out of 30 marks. And that automatically updated, if you notice that over here, the total. And now I could enter the grades. I'm just going to say they're all 25. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to go down here and just paste it into all of these cells. And what it should automatically do now is update this grade. Okay, it should update that total. And it should also update this mark. And just to test that, I usually go to the first one. I'm going to put a 0 in there. Yeah, that made the change. Good. And I might go down to the last one just to make sure as well too, just to verify. Put a 0 in there, put a 25 in there, and something happened. It didn't make any difference, which is interesting. Now, this is 25. Why did that not work? So this is E6 to M6, and this is E15 to L15. So what we need to do is drag this down. And you can see when I did that, it did make the change. I'm not sure why it only changed the first row. So let's add another column in, just for fun. I'll insert one to the left. And I don't know, this is participation. Again, something that would not be graded inside of Classroom. And we'll make that out of 10 marks. And you can see that did change everyone's grade, but 9, 8, 9. And as I go down this list, it is making changes, as you can see. And that helps, oopsie, that's a little bit high. And that helps us to verify. If we see that number change, we know that we've done something right. I'm not sure what happened with this row, why that didn't work. It really ought to have worked the first time. This total should have updated when I changed that grade. And you can see it does make a difference. Yeah, everything's good. So what I would do now in Aspen is I would only enter a final grade right here. And that does make my life a whole lot easier. The last thing is weighting. And if you did want to weight an assignment, well, that does get a little bit more complex, and that's something I'll have to save for another video. So one concern that might pop up is, where exactly is this file located? Well, you can determine that fairly easily in any Google Doc by going to File and go Document Details. And that tells me that this file, which was automatically created, is located in my Classroom folder. Where exactly is that? Well, the Classroom folder is automatically generated by Google Classroom as soon as you set it up for the first time. I'm just going to open up a new tab here, and in that new tab, I'm going to go to my drive. And from my drive, wait for that to load, scroll down to find Classroom, the Classroom folder. And if I click on that, you'll see that there's a folder, again, automatically generated for each of my classes inside of Google Classroom. If I keep scrolling down, I'll see the grades. I can also sort this by last modified. Probably a good way to find this. Yeah, click last modified. It'll just take a second. It does folders first, so I still have to scroll down, and then files after. And this is the most current file, which tells me this is going to be the one that I've just been working on, which is this file right here. In fact, let's close this down and just make sure that's the case. I'll double click it, which should open that file up. And it looks like we're good to go. Incidentally, if I just go back to Google Drive for a second, if you want to move these out of here, you'd probably want to close this first, although it may not matter. But if you want to move that, you'd simply click here and you go Move To, and then you could select the folder that you want. I'll go to Kearney, and then I'm going to have a Marks folder in here. And I'd like to keep these in a place that's easier for me to find, so I might go Marks. I haven't made a folder yet for 2019-2020, but I would simply put it in that folder. Here, I'll just move it in here for now. The other thing I should warn you about, moving this, we'll share it. Yes, that's fine. I'll click OK there. The other thing I should warn you about is each time that you export, it creates a new file. So if I were to export this again, go to Settings, and copy all marks to Google Sheets, that creates an entirely new sheet. It doesn't actually add it into the old sheet, and that is important to consider. So if I do an export, just to have a quick look in the middle of the term, I'm probably going to end up deleting this file, because at the end of the term, when I'm ready to submit my grades, I'm going to do a re-export inside of here with all of the updated marks. Now, I could go back and just make the updates in here. That's fine, but it can get a little bit confusing if you've got multiple files from the same course. I hope that helps, and I hope this makes your Google Classroom use a little bit more efficient. That's all for today. Thank you.